to laugh. You should have seen the comments and heard what I got just walking through the streets of New York City with my mobile phone. And it's got a reason, it has a purpose. But this is New York, right? So anything can happen in New York. So we're going to start out immediately with an exercise. Ready?
Yep.
There are qualities and attributes of mindfulness. One of them is to have a beginner's mind. The other is to have curiosity. And finally, there's one more that's important to this exercise. It's called non-judgment. There's other attributes as well, but I would like you, with curiosity, a beginner's mind, and non-judgment, just to observe the mobile phone. Are you ready? And go. Stop. There's a reason why we did this, and I'll explain it to you later. For some of you, that was probably the longest 10 seconds of your life, and the audio person is going, really? We're taping ambient noise? But there is a reason. If you're watching this video at home, I will just ask for one thing. Do not do what I do, which is fast forward. You know, we watch videos at twice the speed. You have permission to stop the videos, but do not fast forward, and I'll explain that as we go along. So this is my mobile phone. It's been with me for about 20 years now. It was given to me at a wireless conference in New Orleans, and I used to be in the mobile app and game development business full time. So this is why it's very precious to me. And it was always my dream to have my own app. So I've manifested my destiny here. I had a game. Well, actually, I was producing a game and it went nowhere fast. This is Cyber Annie, and I love talking to Cyber Annie. She lives in my phone. And Cyber Annie has now morphed and transformed, and she's now a chat box. So every once in a while, I talk to my phone. I just wanted to introduce you to her because she's cute. Okay, no other reason. In 2000, I went to the very first mobile app developer conference. It was actually a mobile game conference. It was part of a larger game conference, and there were only 100 developers there. I was the only woman in the group. Yay! But it was lonely. I had the ladies' room all to myself, and heaven knows I like men, but it would really be a great idea if I had some women with me, right? So that's why Cyber Annie, and she's my advocate through the years of getting more women involved in the technology. At that time, if you were a game developer, it was awful in the sense, if we're doing games, we're doing it for a screen that's only this big. And there were about 600 phones out there in the world. So as a game developer, you had to beta test for every one of those phones. Testing was expensive. And on top of it, carriers were like publishers. Sprint and Verizon, AT&T, and other companies that aren't around anymore, they would decide if your game was good enough to go on their phone. And at this conference, there was a man who was speaking who was almost booed off the stage because he said, developers, this is what you have to do. Think of other things besides games. So this is at a game developer conference, right? He goes, think this thing called apps, application, and something new on the horizon called texting. Okay, this is just 20 years ago. So as you can tell, we had a lot of things in its infancy. And today I'm going to talk about some other things that you might think is like in beta, but it's not. But we are in the infancy stages of understanding how our brain learns and operates. and I will be talking about a system that's turning our brain thinking inside out and upside down. So recently, and mindfulness as well, its connotations, especially in the workplace, it's not that mindfulness has changed through the years, but what has changed are the applications. So for example, there is a hospital in New York City, and we all know that healthcare workers go through a lot of stress. This hospital had a room developed that any healthcare worker can go in, and for 5 minutes, they can sit there with a remote, change the room environment, the colors, but it's all nature scenes. They can go to a tropical forest or a mountain range. They can change the colors, the lighting, and the sounds in that room. 5 minutes of just quiet time in a massage chair changes their physiology because it's mindfulness. So everything I'm talking about today is researched and backed by science. It's not like, oh, mindfulness is out there, some airy-fairy thing. It's real and it works. I was talking to an HR department recently. This woman, obviously in HR, was having a very bad day. And she goes, so I'm supposed to call you about bringing in a mindfulness program into here. I'm like, okay, fine. And she said, so what do you know about mindfulness? Well, I could tell she was having a very bad day and I was feeling the brunt of it. So I said to her, how about this? And I'm going to ask you to participate as well. If you're standing or you're sitting, put your hands on your tummy. And probably if you've eaten lunch or dinner, you can feel your tummy right now. And just notice your breath. That's all. You don't have to judge it. Just notice it. If you'd like to keep your eyes open, closed, or a soft focus, it's up to you. And as you're sitting, please put your feet firmly on the ground and wiggle your toes and feel your shoes from the inside out. And just notice in your legs, your thighs, do you feel anything that's aching? And just breathe. Notice your hips. Are they facing forward so that they can be nice and open and holding your spine erect? We like to have our spines erect because that allows more oxygen into our central nervous system, and then we can think more clearly. Some of us can't breathe deeply, but we're not judging our breath. Just notice if there's any tension in your chest, in your shoulders, and you're allowed to move your shoulders a little bit, maybe your neck if there's some kinks, whatever you feel comfortable with. And now think of the tension in your face. Are you tense? Are you frowning? Are you thinking about a problem that's coming up? Just let it go. Relax all those muscles. And before we come into the present moment, just smile. Just smile and release that tension. And if you're watching this at work with your colleagues or your family at home, just smile. And as you come and open your eyes into the present moment, smile. If there's nobody there, pet your pet, and just enjoy the moment. This woman in this HR department, she goes, that felt pretty good. Is that what you do? I said, well, that's part of it. And she said, in our offices, in every Zoom meeting, we start with an exercise like that. And she had forgotten because she was so immersed. When I was going into corporations, even like 5 years ago, they'd say, oh, don't bring that mindfulness here, not that woo-woo stuff. But I've been working with an inner MBA program and been a participant in it. And the curriculum was started by New York University Center for Mindfulness, which is also down the road from here. And today, corporate America is asking, how can we have more mindfulness at work? And this is what happened. During the pandemic, there was all of this chaos And now employers, large or small, are being held responsible not only for the mental wellness of their employees, but for their mental fitness. And we're going to talk about that as well. Okay, so I have another little graphic that I'd like to show. This is a goldfish. And this is an interactive exercise. Isn't she beautiful? My colleague did that for me. I also have, get it, a beta fish when you're in computer development. Ha ha ha, yes. Okay, so this is my beta fish, and he's going to be visiting us for a little while. And you have a choice. You can watch Mr. Beta Fish, or you can look at Mr. I think it's a Ms. Goldfish, although mostly male goldfish are so colorful. In any case, play along. Stare at this one or this one. Are you ready? Observe with non-judgment. On your mark, get set, go. And stop. How many of you found yourself wandering or noticing me with my hand up instead of staying right with the fish or with this one? Anybody wander between the two? Okay, thank you for being honest. Wandering minds are not happy minds. Research is showing that people that wander between thoughts, it can lead to loneliness. It's also a sign of loneliness. So that's one of the reasons with mindfulness and meditation and other techniques that we try to keep our minds focused. And that you held your attention, most of you, with this. Did anyone have thoughts going through your head while you're looking at this? Right. We all have thoughts. We can't shut them off. But by keeping centered and focused, it strengthens our muscles in our brain so that we can be more focused. There was a study done by Harvard University. Can you imagine these students having to stare at a fish and then noting every time they moved? They were studying the attention span of goldfish. And the attention span was about 10 seconds. And today, most of us have the attention span of like 7 seconds. And it's getting worse because of our mobile devices and also internet sites. Before, people would watch them for like up to 10 seconds on the home page. Now, if you don't capture somebody's attention in the first 3 seconds, they'll move on. So as you develop apps and websites, keep that in mind. But also keep in mind, we have to strengthen our ability to think. I'm sure at some point this is going to fall down, but you know, we go with the flow because that's what mindfulness is all about. Okay, there's going to be a pop quiz after this sometime. My beta fish told me he wants to be more mindful. So these are some things that we're going to do to help Mr. Fishy here to be more mindful. This is pink. Obviously, there's a movie going around town that's a little pink. He's going to get out of his comfort zone and he's going to watch the movie, or so he said. There's also another fish in there. That fish is blue. The more that we expose ourselves to people and ideas that are different than ourselves, the more that we expand our thinking, which is so important these days. Our magic fish, he has a really good diet, although I think these were like magic mushrooms, but that's okay. He has a good diet, and he promises he's going to keep up with his diet because now we know there's research on this that sometimes in the gut, that if we don't have a clean system, it can cause depression, and it can also cause our varying thoughts back and forth. So we have to watch a diet. Okay, beta fish says he's going to get good sleep. I don't know if you know this, but the only time the brain goes to the bathroom is when we sleep. think I just said brain and bathroom. In any case, the only time the brain detoxifies is when we go to sleep, right? So we need good sleep. And this one here is because I like green and turquoise. And the other, the other thing, oh, there's this gel in there too. These are two divers. This is the buddy system, of course. This one here is my friend Ben. This is my friend Eric. Now, they're both camera people. And Beta Fish believes in learning new things, so he's going to take up underwater photography. And that's the way that we can increase our brain power, by trying new things. And this one here is just because I liked it, and it was part of the $8.99 pack. You got an extra one or whatever. Okay, so now remember, pop quiz, how to be mindful. Does anybody feel stressed out by technology? You know, those days that we sit as, you know, working at our computers or our mobile apps that maybe aren't launched and they aren't working right? Yeah, anybody feel that way? Of course we do. We're stressed, right? How many people are like me? You get a little bit more stressed if you can't find your phone, because everything lives on your phone, right? And this is why I have a nice big phone. There is, this is how I am when I'm stressed. As you can tell, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but my hair is a little bit kinky, right? This is what happens to our bodies if we don't take care of our negative stresses. Now, there is good stress when we want to be motivated, right? But the bad stress, the negative stress, we have to dump it. And we don't always relate to some of these things. I mean, our eyes could tighten, they could twitch. We could have headaches, insomnia. Also, there's research coming out that the more stressed a person is, how it can lead to dementia. My dad had Alzheimer's disease for 20 years. My mom had Lewy body dementia for 19. So you can be sure I'm working on meditating. You could have esophagus problems, liver problems, diabetes, stress, all sorts of things. So it's important that we take care of our stress. There is a study done at Carnegie Mellon University, and I thought this was really, really interesting. If you say the word war or another ugly word, and you say it in any language, a certain area of your brain lights up. If you say the word love or peace, a different area of your brain lights up. And that's an important thing to remember, because negative stresses deal with negative emotions. And if you talk to any cellular biologist, or there's a field called epigenetics, what happens is that negative stress we have talks to our cells. And when it does that, if we're always in this negative state, that stressed out person could be you. On the same token, if we have positive stresses, positive experiences, and we talk in a positive manner to each other, we can reduce our stress. So if you're at home watching this with your colleagues, for those of you who are here, please take out a paper and pencil, and we're going to do an exercise that's based on stress. When I do this with family caregivers, they can do this like left, right, and center so fast. Here's the thing. It's those little everyday stresses, those things that really bug you, that other people do to you, that stress you out. It could be someone who's driving and cuts you off in the road. It could be your kids not putting their toys away like you asked. It could be your spouse saying, is that all you wear around the house now is yoga pants? I mean, really, it could be anything. So very quickly, write down 3 things that stress you out on a regular basis. Okay, and stop. I know, I go fast, right? You're stressed out. I've just stressed you out. Okay, we're going to move along. When you're watching this video, you can stop and take a longer time. How do you know you're stressed? Do you have any of those symptoms as our stressed out lady? Do you have a headache, upset stomach, migraine? How do you know you're stressed? I really suffered with this question. I struggled because I'm trying to figure out, how do I know if I'm stressed? I found out one day, I noticed my actions. I would pace up and down in front of the computer. And sometimes I'd pace myself right in front of the refrigerator. How do you know you're stressed? Do you yell at your kids, your partner? How do you know you're stressed or you're burned out? Okay, we're going to do this very fast again. Write 3 ways you know that you are stressed. And stop. I know I'm getting these looks. Are you kidding me? It's difficult. I didn't find out that I was stressed or didn't know how to identify it. It took me like a month, maybe 2. I also noticed it because after I was taking care of my mom, you know, I might be in the senior living center, then it was assisted living, then it was a nursing home. I'd sit back in front of the computer. My mind went blank. I was looking at emails. I was doing nothing. I knew I was burning out in the caregiving process of doing things with her. So then I made a point of saying, okay, what am I going to do? So I started riding on my bicycle 10 miles a day, 15 miles a day, every morning at 6 a.m. before the traffic got really bad. That's what I did for my stress. What are you going to do? Okay, write it down. Make a commitment. No, I will not give you more time to decide. Ready, go. Ooh, fast one, fast one. Oh, you're getting faster. Okay, great. If you're with your colleagues watching this video, stop it at this point and say, I am committed to take care of my stress. Do I hear that? Are you going to say it? I am committed to take care of my stress. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Now, tell anybody in the room next to you and tell them, what are you going to do to reduce your stress right now? What are you going to do? Exercise. Great. Okay, we've all decided, right? Okay. Now, if you said exercise, yeah. Sorry, I'm picking on somebody here at this workshop. What are you going to do today? What are you, if you say, I'm signing up for the gym? Okay, stop the video. Go sign up for the gym. Don't say I'm going to do it tomorrow or the day after. I know another Action Talk speaker who makes you do that, right? For sure, because if you don't do that, it's not going to help. You're going to talk about it, and talk about it, and you're going to procrastinate, and again, go nowhere fast. Okay, here we go. Another exercise. Are you ready? Non-judgment, beginner's mind, and curiosity. This object is quite heavy. It's made of glass. I don't know what it is, but it's this thing that I found to be personally beautiful. So, ready? Just observe. On your mark, get set, go. and stop. I promise I will explain why we are doing these exercises. I hope my beta fish doesn't jump out, but we'll see. Okay, so the world of mindfulness is changing in terms of its applications. There is a story I heard of a former CEO in a manufacturing plant with 6,000 employees around the world. When he came in, he knew there were problems. He wanted to know how he could get a buy-in to do this. What he did is he traveled to all of these manufacturing plants, and he had everybody sit in a circle, and someone read the story by Scott Peck called A Rabbi's Gift. All of a sudden, people, all different nationalities, all different countries, continents working together, very diversified workforce, they had a common point of discussing this program. And also they used what Native American elders have used for a long time, which is a talking stick, where everyone goes around the room, gives their opinion without interruption, no judgment. So a lot of times people just use a stone and then they pass it around. If you go into a company and you see that, that technique is being used over and over again because people want to be listened to, and that's one of the biggest problems of corporations. It starts from top down instead of maybe the bottom up. Structures are changing. Eileen Ford, who is a very well-known fashion designer, when she came back from her mindfulness journey, and I say came back, she was on it for quite some time, and she was a meditator. She decided that all of the conference room tables would be in circles, in, a circle shape instead of rectangular, just to make the point that everybody has a seat at the table. She also has a meditation bell. No meeting starts without a grounding exercise. So don't be surprised if you go into a company and they're doing this already, because again, corporations are now becoming responsible for the mental health of their employees. This is a technique that I like and I use. You may have recognized this symbol, the little tomato. This is the Pomodoro technique, where you work for 25 minutes, you stop, you get up, you have your mindful moment, you hydrate, you go to the men's or ladies' room, what have you, and then you come back to work. What's happening in corporate America is we've gone meeting happy. Part of mindfulness is to change that and to do half as many meetings because people want to do their jobs. Also, I had mentioned the little goldfish there. If some clients of mine can't do 25 minutes because of their stress, so I say, what can you do in 2 minutes? How can you be productive in 2 minutes, in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes? And they work up to that. I've worked a lot with veterans with PTSD using something called tapping and cognitive behavioral techniques, and I find they're so distracted. This is a good way to center them and to center anyone else that you know that needs to really keep focused. Okay. Deep breath. Put your feet flat on the floor. Let's center ourselves and just breathe. When you're ready, come back to the present moment. That's all you need to do. Do it throughout your day. Between emails, it was only 10 seconds. Are you going to tell me you don't have 10 seconds to breathe? I mean, of course you're breathing, but intentional breathing. That's all it takes, 10 seconds. or staring at an object, a plant. Put a photograph up there. Put a photograph of yourself as a baby or under the age of 7. Because under the age of 7, 7 is when children really start that reasoning. And after that, you can, or under that age of 7, you can really see the essence of a baby, of a child. If you're looking at yourself, you can find your own essence of that beautiful child, and you can carry it with you. I don't care if you're 100 or 80 or 90 or whatever age you are. We need self-care and self-compassion. And empathizing with yourself and seeing your photograph is such a powerful tool, and we don't use it. There's a corporation that the minute that they hire someone, they have to have them bring in their baby picture. And what happens is it's on a wall, and everybody looks at the new employee's baby picture. And what they're doing is they're learning to empathize and embrace that person. There's another company that they don't call it an inclusive workplace anymore. They call it a welcoming workplace. And there's another story about these HR people in a fashion company that decided, okay, so we're going to hire one person and another fashion designer. And then you walk in their offices and all of these fashion designers were under 25, 30. They were all wearing black, short skirts, tights, boots, you know, whatever the style of the fashion is. And they were really designing for women over 35, 40 that were, let's just say, a little overweight. But they couldn't do it because the HR department said, oh, they're going to fit into our culture. Well, guess what? They fit into their own culture, but they didn't have somebody else's culture. That's a new application of mindfulness. There is a man who in 2012 came out with a New York Times bestseller, and he was involved in the coaching industry as the president of a company. And he developed research at Stanford University. And I had told you about the negative emotions and the thoughts and then the positive ones. He took it to an entire new level. And he came out with a program called Positive Intelligence. And positive intelligence is taking the workplace by storm. If you don't know what it is, please learn about it. It is just the most remarkable program I have ever gone through, and the results, speaking with other coaches, when somebody can cut down on their medications for major depressive disorder from 32 medications to 5 a day, that is incredible. There are even other companies with other modalities that are saying, you know, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy or it's positive intelligence, you know, one of my favorites is EFT. They're saying learn positive intelligence first and then put those other applications on top of it by working with a coach. There are a lot of podcasts out there that interview entrepreneurs, and I like to listen to, like, you know, Forbes 30 under 30, 40 under 40. And what the successful entrepreneurs say and do is that they have a number of things going on in their lives. Some have therapists, let's admit it, they need it, it's stressful. Others say they meditate, and others say they use a coach. Now, there's something important if you don't understand. Therapists start at your life now and work backwards. Coaches take you from your life now and move forward. That's a very big difference. So when I coach and have the coaching hat on, it's not when I do other work. And I'm not a therapist. And when I do EFT with veterans, I have a doctor at my side because you can never know when you might trigger something off. Positive intelligence, as I was talking about those positive and negative things. We have these negative stresses that build up in our lives, and what we're going to try to do is cut them down. And that's what positive intelligence does. There's these little things that we've done by staring at something that was like only 10 seconds. That's equivalent to what's called a positive intelligence or PQ rep. And those are exercises where you can transform from the negative to the positive. And I'm just giving you a big picture overview because there's really, that's days of talking about it that we don't have time for today. But the idea is, you know how we all have these voices in our head? 80% of our thoughts are negative. 80% every single day. You hear that voice, I can't do an action talk. I can't do a master class. Whatever it is, that voice is in our head. And what we're trying to do is to change that negative voice and put it into the positive. And I'm not saying you have to be a happy camper all the time. I mean, if you want to do a happy dance every day, that's fantastic. That's great. And you should be doing it. We're not saying suppress your emotions of sadness. If you want to know about the data science behind that, go to positiveintelligence.com. There's lots of white papers and research. What I find fascinating is other places like Princeton University, and there are 25 mindfulness type research centers in the United States. They're studying how positive intelligence could help someone with Parkinson's. They're studying how positive intelligence can help somebody who has ADHD. They're studying all of these things that positive intelligence can do, because we do have these negative thoughts, and that's because it's our reptilian brain telling us to have that. With positive intelligence, there's another step, and what it does, it takes things a little bit further. That we have this judge in our head. We also have what's called a saboteur, and there's 10 saboteurs. It could be someone's an avoider. Maybe someone feels like they have a victim mentality. Maybe they are a hyperachiever. So they're all named. And for the fun of it, if you go to positiveintelligence.com and take the saboteur assessment, contact me, and for the fun of it, we're going to find out your saboteur and what's good and what's bad about it. Now, when I say what's good and bad, I'll give you an example. I have a colleague, and from across the room, she will tell me, your graphic is 1 pixel off. And I want to wring her neck, right? I go, perfectionism. And it's really good, though, because she will catch mistakes and things that I will never notice. When she calls, well, I won't say what she says, but when she calls herself a certain word and she goes, I'm just being you know what about this, I'm going, yeah, right, you stickler. Okay? And it's fun. It's a languaging that we know that's fun. There's another one that I'm working with someone who has this victim mentality. The victim mentality comes because of the color of her skin and where she's had her background from. And it's sort of like always in her neighborhood, looking over the shoulder, can I walk the street? It's after 7 o'clock. There's a lot of that that's built into us. I have another colleague who's Asian, and she was surprised at the victim mentality. And she found it more after COVID, because her husband, who's not Asian, would walk down the street and he would have to protect her because of what had happened. I mean, we judge people by the color of their skin, their size, their age. We're doing it all the time. And we need to recognize that someone is different from us. Their thoughts, their cultures are different from us. But that doesn't mean we have to judge them. And when you know your saboteurs, you can speak a different language. This coaching system, this positive intelligence, is going through corporate America, like P&G, Microsoft, Nestle. It's going at smaller companies too. There's a lot of government agencies where it's going to. And what's happening, C-suite executives are studying this, and they're having such a good time doing it. It only takes, I would say 6 weeks of coaching and doing this and following an app. And the app is very much these exercises that we were doing, staring for 10 seconds, going from the negative to the positive. Those 2-minute little exercises of breathing, they're all based on mindfulness. And once you get what they call this new brain operating system installed in you, that it only takes like less than 10 minutes a day to keep it updated. So positiveintelligence.com, it's not my app, it's not my stuff, but I love it, and I hope that you enjoy it too. Okay, how else can we be mindful in our lives? Think about that. Mindfulness is not sitting on a meditation mat all day long. It's not being wrapped up like a yogi in a pretzel all day long. It's about living your life in a mindful way. So just think about a minute and take out your paper and pencil again. Is there a way that you can be mindful, more mindful today? Because everybody's judgment of what mindfulness is different. Just take a moment. How can we become more mindful at work? Here's another thing you can do. Set the timer on your mobile device, because we all know they're attached to you, like mine's attached to me. And every 30 minutes, stand up away from your computer, go visit a colleague, go talk to someone, hydrate, have a mindful moment where you move, turn on the music and dance like nobody's watching. Those are mindful moments. There's so many things we can do. And I think it's really impressive what is happening in the workplace and this new definition of mindfulness. I know I've got an app coming out, and I'm partnering with people that all have mindfulness at their core, whether it's executive leadership or it could be project management. I know project management managers have told me that the biggest skill they need in their group, besides the mathematics and everything else, are people skills. So we need that as well. There's mindful pet parenting. Yes, there is such a thing. Someone in this room is responsible for that, but I won't say who, and it's not me. I don't have pets other than my betta fish. And we also have mindful parenting going on, mindful finance. And I think as you listen to a lot of the talks on this new app, the Action Talks, that you're going to hear people that are really getting into their inner core. The tagline for my company is Inner Wisdom to Community. And you will hear this said over and over again. You can't change the world. You can't change, your spouse, your partner. You can be a leader and have influence. You can't make those changes until you change yourself, your inner core, until you find your own inner wisdom. And that's what mindfulness is about, finding your own inner wisdom, sharing it then with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and then out to the community, especially if you do volunteer work, nonprofit work. It's so important that you do that, But if you can't walk the talk, people will see through you very, very quickly. Know your message, know your heart. Sometimes somebody will say to me, well, Anne Marie, that's like the corniest thing I've ever heard. And I'll say, how about breathing? Let's just breathe, right? It doesn't matter any time of day, breathe intentionally. So I hope that all of you find your inner wisdom and enjoy your moments to mindfulness, whether it's being out in nature or whatever you're doing, learning something new. I have a light here in front of me to remind me that I truly appreciate my colleagues and the support that they've given me. I really don't have family anymore, but my friends and colleagues are my family. And I'd like to know, and for you to know, that the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.